I'm your host, TaSheena Braxton, and I am on a mission to disrupt the industry standard that fancy titles make leaders and teaching my clients how to become leaders and get their own seats at the table. Every week, I will explore a topic that impacts women of color. I will unpack the topic and provide learning so that you can feel equipped to step into leadership. I went from laid off to an entry-level job to a mid-level multiple six figures role where I wasn't the highest on the org chart, but I was able to sit in rooms with CEOs, CFOs, and CMOs without a fancy title. As a mom of 4, a wife, and the eldest daughter of 6, I know what it means to lead in every aspect of your life and to be able to translate that into the workplace. Welcome to the Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. So glad to have you here. Now let's get into it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. And in today's episode, I am talking about layoffs and what to do within the first 72 hours to set yourself up and not feel like you are taking a step back in your life and in your career. The times that we are living in, they feel so unprecedented. And it is like we are suffering from a form of whiplash where we are seeing that people are being let go from their jobs left and right quite frequently. And it's scary. It truly is scary. But the other thing that I know is that people are still hiring. People are still getting jobs. And so today I want to give you my suggestions on the steps to do if you are experiencing layoff or a transition, and talk to you about my new offer, Reclaim, that can help you as you are navigating a layoff or a work transition. So let's get into it. So I know that the shock, the anger, the sadness, the fear, and the panic that comes over you when you get that information. You are being let go. Your role is being displaced. Your team is being disbanded. You will no longer be working for this organization. Or we can give you some resources and things that you can do next to help you. I know this feeling so well because I was laid off twice in my career. The first time I was 8.5 months pregnant with my 4th child. And the way that I found out was not actually through my boss first. I found out before my boss told me. And I went into this panic. I was younger. It was literally like this job was like my first real job. I had been there for 15 years and I had given everything. I felt like I was moving up. I felt like I was making impact. I felt like I was just doing the damn thing. And I couldn't believe that I would be laid off, given that I actually worked in the central headquarters. I worked there, and I was thinking like they wouldn't let people go at the headquarters, but they ended up removing my position and then replacing it with someone that was more central in Texas. And so it just felt like this cannot be happening. And again, like I said, I was pregnant. And so in my mind, I was like, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to go through with this? How am I going to take care of my kids? And at this time, I was sort of, I would say, a single mom. And so it felt hard. It felt heavy. It felt like I did not know what was going to be next for me. And I remember coming and laying on my couch after I dropped the kids off to school, and I would just lay on my couch day in and day out. And that's when I fell in love with the game show, Let's Make a Deal. And I would just like, it just felt like I could be immersed in something different that didn't have to do with my reality. And I know that it didn't take anything away, but my first thought was like, what the hell am I going to do being pregnant and nobody's going to hire a pregnant woman? And so I ended up going and getting food stamps and just really like trying to figure things out, something to keep me for the meantime.
it's funny because at that time, because of my immaturity and really not knowing how this thing worked, I remember even like about to reach out to the HR manager and say, this isn't fair, blah, 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 blah. But then that's when I kind of realized that HR is on the side of the organization. That's just my feelings. And I was like, no, I can't actually reach out to this HR manager. They're not going to help me. And in fact, I actually caught wind of an email where the HR manager, after I reached out to them, reached out to my boss to say, hey, this is what TaSheena is doing. I was like, ugh, they're not for me. They are not for me. Okay. So, it was a scary layoff. And that's when I decided that I needed to do something different. And that something different was like, get off this couch and go apply to jobs and go to these interviews. Who cares? Like, show your commitment, believe in yourself, and go get it. And that's exactly what I did. Like, I was like, I'm going to go get it. And y'all, I was walking into interviews with a big stomach, a big belly, and I didn't care. And finally, I reached out to my cousin and was like, is there anything available? Because the God's to honest truth is like, it was getting to the point where I was getting turn downs and I was getting information back that not at this time. And then I had my baby and I started up right again to go interview. And thank God for my mom, rest her soul. She babysat, helped me out. My dad helped me out so that I could go to these interviews. And I'm like, I'm about to go do it. I got to get this done. But the energy that I had was more of panic at first. And it was more of like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I got to get a job, right? So it felt scary. It really, truly did. And so finally I get a job and I get the job of my dreams and I move up the ladder. And, even my role moving up the ladder was unprecedented because I skipped levels. I got a job that was like almost like higher mid-level and I was just doing the damn thing. But then I get the news on April Fool's Day, your entire team is going to be displaced. And, for a minute, I was like, oh, God, I can't believe this is true. But then based on what I had learned, based on the skills that I had developed as a coach, I didn't panic this time. I walked into this thing strategic. I knew exactly what I needed to do. I outlined my steps and I just really said like, okay, we're going to be focused. You got a clear head. This is how things are going to happen. And that's exactly what I did. And so this, my friend, is why I created Reclaim. Reclaim is a 3-hour one-on-one intensive for women of color who are navigating a layoff or a job transition. In this 3-hour intensive, I don't just give you the practical tools, like this is how you do everything, but I also make sure that the emotional aspect of what you're going through is also addressed because your mindset is everything. What you think and what you feel about yourself and the job market can greatly impact how you move forward and the results that you get. And so I am like working with you. Like, where are you at emotionally right now? What are the stinking self-limiting thoughts that you have right now? What do we need to think differently? How do we need to be? All of these things are so important. And we do that in this 3-hour intensive, right? And so this is the beginning of this intensive and this structured approach that I do. And again, I'm looking at the holistic person. Women of color don't get the luxury or the benefit most times to work on their emotional selves because we are always expected to just move forward, to keep going, to not give up. We don't have time to just sit and stand. I want to also kind of carve out Black women specifically, because Black women have been conditioned to keep going because that's what slavery taught us. Slavery taught us that we can't just sit still, that when our husbands was taken away or lynched, when our kids was removed for us to be sold to another slave owner, that if we stay still and we started being in our emotions, that could make it where we were also at threat, and we are also, having the sort of like opportunity to be ostracized, to be lynched, to be whipped with the whips. And we didn't want that. So we went back to the cotton field after we just lost our babies, and we worked. And so this has created this conditioning where we just keep going. And it also creates the conditioning that we got this, we could do it all by ourselves. And so we don't ask for help because we're like, I am the one that can figure this out. I am the one who can do this. And yes, you are the one who can do it, but you shouldn't have to do it alone. And so this is what we're unpacking in this intensive, okay? We're unpacking the emotional reality first before we even get into the practical tools. But let's get into the practical tools. What is happening in this intensive that is going to help you as you navigate this layoff? So this is not in any particular order. But these are the things that we cover because I believe that everything is cyclical. So it goes in a circle, it goes in a loop. Nothing is linear. So there's things that are always coming back and forth that you're going to be working on all the time. So the first thing that I want to talk about is having a financial triage. And so a triage is really about how you prioritize all your finances, because the first thing that normally comes to your mind when you get laid off is, how am I going to pay the bills? Full stop. And so in the first 72 hours of a layoff, you want to be thinking about, what do I need to be doing, right? So this financial triage includes the following. First, we're going to assess. We're going to assess where you are, what's happening for you, where's your finances right now, how much money do you have saved, how much debt do you have, what things are coming up. I know for me, this last layoff, the things that were coming up for me was that, one, I had a whole car note, and two, my son had just got into the private school of his dreams, and it was not cheap. And so I had to think about, okay, what are the debts that I already have that I need to be thinking about? The second thing is prioritize. So now I know all the things that are on my plate. Let's prioritize them, because the reality is everything that you are putting on your paper aren't always things that you absolutely need. It's not part of your survival number. And so the survival number is really like, what do I need to absolutely pay for and have covered in order to survive? And so we need to prioritize all those things that you already put down on paper in the assessment portion, okay? And then the third thing is to allocate. Now we're going to tell our money what to do for us. And this is important because when we don't have clear budgets, when we don't have, we're not looking at our money daily, our money will do whatever it wants to do. Okay. Your money will walk into Costco or Target and tell you to go buy something that you didn't walk in there to get. And I know y'all feel me on that. But we want the opposite, especially during a layoff period or a transition, because we want to be telling our money what to do for us. Okay. And so that's what we're going to do first. Not first, but that is part of the entire intensive, is doing a financial triage, and then allocating. Part of that financial triage is allocating what you want your money to do for you. And then as we're going, I don't know how long you've been out of work, or, during the time that you don't have a job, or the time that you're transitioning and, it's a little bit kind of clunky. You don't know what the end is, or, you are thinking about just taking some time to yourself. We're going to set up a system where you can continuously reassess your money all the time. And that does include, you need to go look at your bank account every single day because you need to know what's in there. So that is the financial triage. The second thing is a transition narrative. Now, a transition narrative is really just saying, like, what's the story? What's the story that I'm going to tell? But a narrative is more than just the story. It also refers to the method or the technique that you use to structure and deliver your story. So it's like, how am I going to tell people about this layoff? And this is like the aspect of storytelling that we don't always talk about. But in that transition narrative, we're thinking about, like, what is my point of view? What does it look like in this space? Like, similar to how I'm talking about my story here on a podcast. Like, what does that actually look like? And then what is the tone that I want to convey? Is it a somber tone? Is it a possibility tone? Like, what does that look like? And we want to make sure that we understand this, because typically in interviews, we always get the question, well, why did you leave? What happened? And so what is the narrative process? What is the way that you're going to deliver this story? Is it through the first person, the third person? Is it, what is the tone? All of these things. And so we're going to walk through that because it's important. Maybe you want to be a comedian when they ask you that question. You want to make it funny and light. Maybe you want to make it inspiring and motivating. Like, what does that look like? Because again, it goes back to the way you think and feel about this moment in your life matters. And it comes out in the way you describe, in the way that you share the story of your layoff or in your transition. So a transition narrative is what we're going to work on, which is also a big piece of the storytelling. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up your passive digital presence. And I say passive because I am not trying to put a lot of work on you when you are already stressed. Okay. So a passive digital presence is really looking at, how do I want to set up my social channels? So LinkedIn specifically, how do I want to set it up so that I don't have to attend to it every day? But when somebody comes to look at my LinkedIn profile, they're like, wow, this person is somebody I need to get to know. This person is somebody that would do great in my organization. This person is amazing. Like, that's what I want to help you set up. And so we're looking at your LinkedIn and we're figuring out, like, what does that actually look like? How are you going to be? How are you going to present yourself? Because, first impressions can be everything. I'm not going to say it's everything because I don't believe that. I believe, especially women of color, aka Black women, we get judged immediately on a first impression. And sometimes that's just not who we are. I know I always get the TaSheena is not really a talkative person. TaSheena kind of sits back and she doesn't speak. TaSheena's a little aloof. She doesn't seem engaged. I'm not sure where she's at or what she's thinking. Y'all, if I have to hear that one more time, because in my mind, I'm like, when you get to know me, you're going to be like, oh, she's amazing. She is awesome. Yes, I'm tooting my own horn right now, but it's true. Like, I've never met someone who I couldn't connect with and become like close to and learn and, be, cool with. Like, I haven't felt that. And so I digress there. But when we talk about the passive digital presence, we want to put ourselves out there so that people see us as someone who they want to work with or they want to connect to. Okay. And so we are going to look at your LinkedIn and we're going to optimize it so that it is working for you, even without you being online all day long. And then the last thing that we really focus on is networking. Networking through networking maps. So we're going to do a network map. And this network map is going to be kind of the key to all of this, because your network is your net worth. And knowing who is already in your network, knowing who you can already connect to, knowing who is, 7 degrees away from you because they're part of a network that you have a network and they're part of that person's network, so it's like, I don't know you personally, but you know somebody I know, and we're going to connect. And so we're going to do a network map, and then we're going to look at the power plays in that network. And so what I mean by power is not necessarily like I have power over you, but it's really looking like who holds the influence, who is the decision makers, who are the people that have such expansive networks that I can reach out to, because they're going to know what's happening in the job market. They're going to know who I can talk to. They're going to know what's happening. Okay. So in this intensive, we're going to be working on the emotional reality of where you are. We're going to work on the financial triage, so you know where your money is going and it's working for you, and you know, kind of where you are right now. We're going to work on this transition narrative. So how are you going to speak about your story of being laid off or in transition? We're going to work on a passive digital presence, so you understand, so that not you understand, but other people understand who you are. And then you don't even have to be online all day. And then we're going to do a network mapping exercise. And so you're going to know who's in your network, who you can reach out to, and just be really clear, because sometimes we think we're like, yeah, I know this person, or we forget people that we actually know and we skip over them because maybe we've talked to them so long ago. And then in this networking mapping, we also are going to create some different networking kind of scripts that you can use, and they're going to be personalized to you. I do not give out scripts, but I want you to create scripts for yourself so that you know exactly what you're going to say. Okay. So this is all a part of my Reclaim 3-hour one-on-one intensive. It is being sold right now, and it is for sessions in May 2025. You are going to get access to training videos. So I'm going to do some training, and you'll be able to go watch those even before or during or even up to 30 days after this intensive, because you'll also get 30 days of WhatsApp support, so that we can implement some of the things you learn, and so that you know exactly, how to do things. And then when you come across things that are kind of fuzzy or gray and you're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do, you can reach out for 30 days. And you'll also get access to worksheets so that you can walk through this and you know exactly what to do. The investment for this is $497. That is a freaking steal. Okay. $497, and you get access to me for 30 days. You get training videos. You get so many resources that is just going to help you move out of this place if you want to. Some people don't, people are cool where they are. But the people that are joining this intensive, they're like, I want something new. I want to be more strategic. I want to be more focused and organized. And so that's what we're doing in this intensive. Okay. So if you want to learn more about the intensive, you could go in the show notes. You could click the link for the intensive, or go to reclaim, RECLAIM.TaSheenaBraxton.com and learn more about it. And then I would just love to be working with you all. I think this is a time where, we see the writing on the wall and we see what's happening out there in the world, and people are still hiring. So don't get me wrong. Don't think just because you're laid off, other people are not hiring, because they are. So we want to get there, and we want to move that forward for you, because you deserve it. You freaking deserve it. But that first 72 hours after a layoff, you need to anchor yourself and get it
done. I hope this episode was helpful for you. I hope that you see some of the things that you need to be doing and you have an idea. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Leadership Beyond the Title podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like, follow, and leave a comment. Share with your friends, family members, and other women of color leaders. Inside my one-on-one leadership coaching program, I will help you become the leader that you want to be with work-life integration and peace. By tapping into networks, growing your visibility and confidence, you will go from untapped, unseen, and underrepresented to attracting opportunities to take your career and your life to the next level. I use an equity-centered lens in my approach so that you feel seen, safe, empowered, excited, and committed to attract, create, and land opportunities in an unconventional way. To work with me, join my email newsletter, or to learn more about me, click the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to being your coach. See you next week.